What's up, guys? So markets closed. It's the 3rd of November. Yesterday was obviously the very bearish Fed speak day where he raised by 35 basis points, extremely bearish. Closed at low of day. It was sort of a minus 3% day, so pretty bad or good, however you want to look at it. Today expected some follow through. We got that. I think I expected more, but still, at least we had sort of 1% down on the SPY. Got a bit of a doji here, so it's possible that tomorrow, Friday, we have a bit of a green day. And I say that mainly because when I look at the NASDAQ, okay, we're not at the very low of, the low we put in on Thursday, Thursday, the 13th of October. But I remember that day, we basically opened at the low and just closed at the high. I mean, you can tell just from the candle, but it was a very strong day. So, in my opinion, the real low, if I can call it that, is where we are, because we were there for 4 days, and I include the bullish engulfing candle because it spent most of its time there. So I just feel like we're at the low. Of course, we could go lower. I mean, the Nasdaq did close at its low of day. We're down 2% on the Nasdaq, so you'd expect it to make, what is it, just, yeah, not even 2% move down to reach the lows. But when I look at the SPY, I don't know, we're off our lows. So we look at the Dow Jones, very similar to the SPY, only down 0.5%. You look at the Russell 2000, very similar, only down 0.5%. And maybe more interesting is the VIX, which was red again. And, if you think about what the market's been doing, why would it be down? I mean, it looks like it's been following the SPY and the NASDAQ, the general markets, the last 2-3 days. And it's supposed to be inversely correlated. So that's a bit strange, actually. I don't really know why that's happened. I'm sure there are some shenanigans and there are some experts in the VIX who could probably tell, but we'll probably end up having to read an article on that in 1 or 2 days, probably from Zero Hedge or something. But at the moment, I can't tell. But it's very interesting. And because that's not sort of green, what would it be normally, 6% or something on a day like today? Then that leads me to believe that there could be a bit of a bounce. Or otherwise it's just severely under-owned and it will just go up massively in the next few days to make up for where it is. But it's a bit strange, the disconnect there. But when I look at the NASDAQ, and obviously the NASDAQ's been very weak because the big stocks that own it, the FANGs, even though they're renamed now, they've been weak. And if we take a look very quickly at for example, look at Google, closes at low of day. That's even worse than the NASDAQ. And I just, look, it's filling its gap over here. Amazon, totally destroyed. It's almost at its lows of March 2020, the COVID lows. Microsoft reaching what I think is support very soon, strategic support, ascending line. Apple, okay, Apple's kind of lost it and it deserved this, to be honest. I thought it was a bit of a sell, but that could find support pretty soon. Temporary support. Tesla's is kind of holding around here sideways. So the point is, I feel like these big stocks that have let the NASDAQ down, they're pretty close to support or they're in support. So I say all of that just to say that I feel like tomorrow, Friday, will be a bit of a sideways bounce day, nothing heavy. I don't expect the markets to go up heavy, but I don't think the flush will continue, at least for tomorrow. Okay, let's look at the rates deals. They went up. Now that was expected, and that's kind of followed the trajectory I expected. So the 1 year today basically pierced, made a new high. Very bearish for the markets. The 2 year, ignore this. I think this is some sort of a computer error or something. But anyway, the 2 year is probably the most important one. The 2s and the 10s made a new high. The 5 year, okay, hasn't made a new high, but it's on its way. 10 year, pretty much the same thing. Rates are going up. Even the 30 year started to finally react. So rates are going up, and it's the same in Europe, let's say, the German, the Italian, and even the British finally starting to make a bit of a comeback. It took out this 79. I thought that might happen. So yields are going back up. The markets are going down. Maybe they will have a little bit of a sideways day tomorrow. The DAX obviously had to make up for yesterday's move down in the US markets. Let's look at the dollar. Made a nice move up, just where I thought it would sort of hover. Tomorrow probably sort of stall out around here. I see the euro did a fake breakout here. That's interesting. Let's see. USD, Japanese yen, you got to watch out. If this takes out 150, it's going to be total chaos in the Japanese economy. Got to watch out for that. That could happen pretty soon. The pound US dollar, look at that, totally adhered to that descending technical breakdown. So anyway, it looks like the dollar is moving back up with yields whilst the markets drop. So we're really back to the old patterns. Sorry. All right, let's look at the commodities. You know, I never really look at copper. Let's look at copper. Yeah, nothing exciting, so probably wasn't worth looking at, but Dr. Copper, as it's known, a barometer of the general markets. But then again, you've got inflation. So, I mean, there's an argument for going either way. If it goes up, you could say, well, that's inflation. Commodities should be bullish during inflationary times. But then you could say it should go down because the economy is weak. You know, you've got a sort of recession/depression, and it's a barometer of economic activity. So, torn between both arguments on that one. I think it should be up. Natural gas, I think this is the US natural gas. You've got natural gas prices for different regions. The European is probably all the way up here. But the US natural gas really came all the way back down to its old lows perfectly. So this was a nice bounce to play. I own one natural gas related company, that's Trillion. I just watched an interview on it based on the CEO, actually, very bullish stock in my opinion. Oil has come all the way back down and then bounced. Oil's very special. Obviously, oil related stocks are basically at new highs, like Exxon, Chevron, etc. So oil's done very well, at least oil related stocks. I believe wheat went up and down the other day due to the grain deal, right, with the Russians just said we're going to suspend the export of wheat, and then they resumed it, so up and down it went. Anyway, gold and silver, very interesting. Now, I did think that we were going to go all the way down here. We did. We bounced off the lows. I saw an article today from Zero Hedge about some massive 300-ton whales buying gold, and I think it's the record year 2022 with central banks buying gold. So behind the scenes, the big boys are preparing for something that the little boys are not informed about. Maybe it could be some East versus West. Yeah, I don't know. It could be like the West selling, using the short selling of paper gold, and the East just buy it up in physical. China, Russia, the usual suspects, probably expecting a bit of a demise in the fiat currency of the West, which is no secret anymore. So, yeah, heavy buying behind the scenes of gold, but silver. And you rarely see this, but to be honest, silver's been outperforming gold a lot recently. Silver up almost 1.5%, whilst gold's down 0.5%. Pretty rare, even when it's outperforming. That's quite a I don't know. That's quite alarming in a good sense. So I was looking for silver to touch 18 and flush. Not now. I knew it'd be pretty strong around here, but already to have strength here, that's pretty impressive. And because of that, if we move to the miners, you can see the GDXJ, which is not silver. That's really the SILJs. But still, there's a lot of silver mines, small silver mines that make up the GDXJ, which is the juniors. And I think that's why it wasn't down as much as the GDX. And on top of that, you had Newmont, which is my heaviest holding, damn it, which had bad earnings, and Barrick Gold, which had bad earnings today, I believe. So those two have been weighing down the GDX. So look, GDXJ not even down 1%, GDX down 2.5%, and normally it should be the opposite. GDXJ is always more sensitive on the way up and on the way down. And it kind of reminds me of the Nasdaq a little bit. They sort of held the lows, and not the ultimate lows, but the second lowest low, if I can call it that. So that looks, if the markets bounce or go sideways, I feel like we could have a small bounce tomorrow, but nothing special. There's nothing to base your trades on, let's say. GDX obviously a bit more bearish, but still sort of within the same respective zone. Let's take a look at crypto, actually. Why not? Crypto, a bit like the VIX, I just can't get my head around the movement. It's a green day. It was red markets. Nasdaq was down 2%, and you got Bitcoin up. Not much, but still, that's quite impressive. And by the way, I saw this band up 100 and something percent. That's the altcoins back to their old tricks again. Haven't seen that in a while. But anyway, Bitcoin, I don't know. I just don't know what to say. It's just more sideways activity. If I had to choose, I'd be bearish. But it's been outperforming. I don't know. It's been underperforming on the way up and outperforming on the way down. It's very annoying, actually. So I'm just no comment. No comment.
Data connection reestablished.
So that's it, really. I'll maybe quickly take a look at uranium. It's the URA. That's just a basic ETF. And yeah, lower highs, but not lower lows. And this is kind of a bullish chart, in my opinion. I mean, I'm hoping it flushes. Maybe we can do an extra little trend line here. I mean, look, if it flushes this sort of neckline, this is not even a neckline, but if it loses this support here, obviously we'll flush a bit, and it depends what's happening in the background. But usually I like to sort of, let it go sideways and then have a little breakout of this. And then sometimes it'll retest it and then go higher. And then when it really takes that part out, then you can really play. I mean, you can play it in several areas, but I like the breakout of these downtrend lines. And obviously, I prefer to trade particular stocks based on it. And this is the one I got my eye on, CCJ. Just sideways action for now. I just want to see what happens to the markets. I mean, who cares really what happens tomorrow? Next week, we're going to have fireworks again because we could have the flush. The Nasdaq could flush and then everything goes down. And if you think about it, let me just finish on this here. If we look at the Nasdaq again, yeah, okay, it's not even 2% to get to the low, but what about the Dow? Dow's got a long way down. If the Nasdaq goes down 2%, the Dow will be down about 2 also. Well, then the Nasdaq will have how much longer to go? You've got the Nasdaq, if we're down 2% on the Nasdaq and the Dow's down here, whilst the Nasdaq's flushing to new lows, the Dow will still have to go down 8% to touch its lows. So pretty large discrepancy between the two. It's just, I don't know, that's a bit strange. The fact that the VIX is down is a bit strange. The silver and gold discrepancy is strange. The Bitcoin not really moving anywhere is a bit strange. It's getting harder to call some of these moves. But overall, keep it simple. Rates up, dollar up, markets down, and everything down. So try and hold back on buying because there are some really good buys out there. I added a few more stocks today. But I also, at the back of my mind, know that I shouldn't be. So I'm just doing very light buying. For example, Barrick Gold. I bought some Barrick Gold after horrible earnings. Just seeing the stock price destroyed, I bought that. And I bought a little bit of Paramount and a little bit of NNDM, Nano Dimensions 3D stock. Very light stuff. So just sticking to cash, trying to play it a bit more long term. Anyway, good luck. Let's see what happens tomorrow. And I'll do another video then. Cool.